Hello, good evening, everyone. Are you able to hear me? Can you just post in the comments here so that we can start with the session? Yep, that's great. So, hi, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining the session. Yeah, I'm doing good. Hope everyone is doing fine as well. Uh, I'll just introduce myself. Rehan. I'm the Chief AI Product Architect at Tapme, which is a computer vision company here in Malaysia. I'm also the mentor for data science course here at Geek4Geeks. So today's agenda is to discuss about data analysis. So I hope you all are interested to pursue, or you all are already pursuing career in data science, right? So for data science, if we talk about machine learning, deep learning, or computer vision, right? Or so there, the data is the key. So we'll in today's session we'll be seeing that okay, how we can uh, see the data that we have. We can do the analysis. We can clean the data, right? We can remove some of the bad data. And before we go for the actual applying those algorithms for machine learning, deep learning, or computer vision. So this is a very important aspect, which generally even the experienced people, they are ignoring it. So yeah, let's get started. I'll share with you the data set. So if you want, you can uh, do the analysis along with me. Just I'll get the link. Okay, so this CSV file is for the Uber drive data, right? Sure. So let me share my screen and I'll show you the data. So if there are any questions, yeah, you can keep it. So this is a 1 hour webinar, right? You can post the session in the comments, right? And at the end of the session, we will try to take on those questions. And if there are any other questions after the session, you can just post the comments on the YouTube video, right? We can have a look and reply after the session. Right? So is everyone able to see my screen, right? Okay, you can post in the comment if you're able to see the screen. Okay. Uh, so this is a Uber drive data for a particular user, right? So what do we have here? We have the start date, end date, category, and then we have the, so category means which type of ride is it? Is it personal or is it business ride, right? And then this is the start destination from where you are taking a ride. This is a stop destination. Uh, uh, so yeah, where the cab is dropping you. This is the distance, right? And this is the purpose why you are traveling, right? So we have the data. Now we'll see that, okay, what are the different analysis that we can make from it. Okay. Yeah. So data set has been shared, Amit, in the chat above. I'll try to share it again. Yep. Okay. So just before plunging into the code, right? So let's have a brief background, right? So this was the CSV file which I showed you, right? So CSV file is comma separated file, which I mean you're having all the data. So now what we'll be doing, we'll be using Python. We'll be using Python libraries to do the analysis, right? So if you all are aware of those, that's really good. But if you are not, you can just follow, right? And try to understand, get the idea what we're trying to do. And this thing you can apply to any data. You can apply to labels. When you are training a model for deep learning, you can apply to the labels there for the machine learning, or you can apply to text data, you can apply to image data, right? For anything you can apply this concept. So uh, try to understand, yeah, how we are approaching the problem, and after the session, try any simple use case and see if this is what you can apply. So first of all, we'll be starting with importing the libraries, right? So NumPy, you already know. I mean, it's a library for the arrays, right? Pandas is uh, Python library for the data analysis manipulation, right? So you can do this with normal Python also without these libraries, but it would require you to like write a lot of lines of code. With these libraries, you have uh, functions readily available with which you can do the data manipulation easily. Matplotlib, so this is for plotting the graph, charts, all those things. Seaborn is also for plotting the charts, but it is for plotting the rich charts, more advanced charts if you want to do. And calendar is for the date time manipulation if you want to do. Uh, yeah. OS you might be only aware of, like it's for like if you want to copy the files, move and all, right? You can use this. So what will be the first step after loading, after you import the libraries? I'll just have a look at the comments if there are any. Okay. So first step will be to load the data set, right? So this is a data frame. So what is a data frame? Data frame is a two-dimensional array, right? Which we have, in which you have rows and columns, right? So it is similar to a SQL table, right? So there you have the rows and the columns, right? But here, I mean, it is in memory. You are trying to do it. So first of all, you will load the whole CSV file inside this data frame. So it will like just how you load the a value inside a variable, right? So similar way, you are loading the whole CSV file into this. So it will become a two-dimensional array. So how do you do that? So this is pandas, right? So pandas, you took the alias pd.read_csv, and then you give the CSV file location, right? So for my here, I mean, it is in the current directory. So I'm reading this, and then df.head. So what df.head will do, it will load all the data, and df.head will just display the first 5 rows, right? So that you can know that, okay, if the load has been done properly and you can see the data and all, right? Everybody clear till here? Okay, we'll move ahead. Then you have df.tail. So df, again, to remind what we have the CSV data, right? df.tail will give you the last 5 rows, right? So this, you can know that, okay, your data, you can see the first records and the last record, and you can have an idea, okay, what is there in your data, right? Uh, and then, so we'll be going through various analysis and what information we can see about the data, right? Then you have df.shape, right? So it will give you, okay, what is how many rows are there and how many columns, right? So 1, 1, 5, 6 rows are there, and then these many columns are there. Then you have df.types. It will give you the type of each column, right? So start date, end date, all the type is object. Miles, which is the distance, is in float, right? And all the other are the object types. So you can see here 6 categorical and 1 numerical, right? Okay, now the question is uh, we want to see how much. So you have the CSV file, right? So there might be many columns, many values which might be null, right? So we need to check how many null values are there in the data, because if you have the null values, right, it will affect uh, the analysis. So yes, the data set link is already provided. So yeah, I pinged again. So maybe I'll write. I wrote a heading also, so now it should be clear. Okay. So for seeing what values are null, right? So this was the data frame in which you have loaded all the whole CSV file, and here, I mean, you use this is NA. So is NA or is null is the same thing, right? So not available, right? So this is used to see the null values it is having, right? And then dot sum, what it will do for each column, how many null values we have, right? So if you'll see start date 0 null values, end date 1 category, and if you'll see purpose, it has 503 null values, right? And then if you want to zero down, right, which row is null, right? So then you can do the data frame, and then so this is the nested, right? So if you want to see, right, what is null, then you write okay column and then is NA, right? And if you like have that in the nested in the data frame, you want to see this row, right? Then you just nest it here in the data frame, and you can see the exact record which is the null one, right? Uh, so now suppose if you have null values, right, in your data set, and I want to say that okay, you have to calculate what is the average, what is the like what is the most frequent date when you're traveling. So if there are, if you're doing the average, and if suppose there are 1,000 values, right, and if you're, and there are 20 null values, and you are doing the like 100 null values suppose, and you're doing the average, then I mean the total number of values that you have, right, I mean it is still so it is still uh, uh, 900 only, not null, right? But average you'll be doing divided by 1,000, right? So it will affect your average. So that's why it is better that you remove those null values, right? So now your data set should be like 100 null values should be removed. You have only 900 data, which is not null. And then you do the average, that will be the true average. Okay, let's go ahead. Yeah, so how do we remove the null values, right? So you can drop the rows, right, which have the null values. So df, I hope everybody might be clear till now. So df is which is holding all the CSV values here, right? So it is a 2-dimension array which stores all my rows and columns for the data set. Okay, then I use df.drop. Df.drop will be dropping whatever rows I want to drop or columns, right? And okay, how do I, first of all, I need to figure out, okay, what I need to drop. So here df and date. So I'm selecting what? I'm selecting and date column, right? And then what I'm saying is NA if it is null, right? And then dot index and access equal to 0, right? So what do we mean by access 0? So access 0 is means that I want to refer to my rows. If I want to refer to the columns, I will write access equal to 1, right? In place equal to true. So in place equal to true, it will modify the data frame here, right? If I'm writing in place equal to false, it will not change the data frame, right? So suppose if you are making a copy of some variable and then you're doing any changes, it will not change the original variable, right? But when if you just do the assignment to the original variable, it will change, right? So similar thing, if you do in place, it will change the data frame. So what you're doing for the row, for the rows for which end date is null, you are dropping all those rows, right? You did the drop, and then you have you did again. So whole record, the data frame in which you had the whole Uber record, you again did data frame is NA. Is NA will give you all the null values, and dot sum will be giving you the sum. So now if you did, you see now my end data date, end date, now it is the end is removed, right? And you can see, yeah. Okay, clear till here? Any questions anyone has? I can, yeah, if anyone is having any doubt, you can just ping in the comments here. Else, yeah, we can keep on moving ahead. Okay. Okay, now, yeah, I want to see the metadata, right? I want to see like the information about my data frame, right? So what do I use? I use df.info, right? And then I can see, okay, what are the columns available? So start date and date, right? How many not null are there? 1155, and what is the data type of these, right? Similarly, if you'll go here, you'll see for purpose, we have 502 null, right? And there is 653 not null. So then you can think of, okay, how much null are there and what you need to do. And you can see memory usages, 72 KBs. Okay, so now if you observe, right? So more than 55% for purpose column, it is null, right? So it makes sense that we drop this column, because if it is having null values, right, it will not help us in the analysis, right? So how we do the drop, right? What we saw earlier, df.drop, which column? Purpose, and access equal to 1. So last time what we did, access equal to 0, we did for the rows. Now we want to drop a column. So here we do access equal to 1. In place equal to true, that it will modify the data frame, right? And then df.head 2, it will give me top 2 records. So first 2 records, I got it, and you can see the purpose column is dropped. Yep. Okay, now we have already seen the information about the CSV data. We have we saw that how many null values are there. We saw top 10 record, top 5 records, bottom 5 records. We dropped the row, we dropped the column, right? Why we are doing this? We are cleaning our data, right? So whatever insights or whatever analysis we do, it is not biased or it is not affected. So suppose we have 1,000 records and suppose all 900 are null, right? And now you're doing the like analysis, so then like those null values would affect the remaining 100 also, right? Percentage, average, and all. It will be really bad. So now you want to check for duplicate data, right? So there might be instances in which your CSV file is having duplicate data. How do you do that? So you'll do df.duplicated, right? And then data frame again in the indices. If you'll place that, you will get the exact record which is duplicated, right? So here I can see that, okay, 492, this row, I mean, it is duplicate, right? So what you can do, you can just drop this row. Okay, so may I know if anybody can write the statement for dropping the duplicated row? I can give you the statement how you drop a normal row. I can give you here. So this is to drop a particular row where end date is null. So now the question is that to drop okay, I'll wait for 2 minutes, and in the meantime, if anybody has any query, they can post. Can we replace the null data value of purpose column with unavailable or something and continue? Yeah, sure, you can do that also. Yeah. So there is also something called that you calculate the average, and then you can also replace the null values with those average values, right? So that it's not affected. So there are numerous methods that you can try to apply. Anyone who can post how you can drop duplicated row? Attempt at least. Okay, I think time's up. Okay, so okay, dropping the duplicate row, right? So we saw that how do we calculate the duplicate row? So df dot duplicated, right? It will give me the duplicated row, and if I want to display that, right, then df, then this square brackets, and I need to write that. So it's the same statement, right? What I have written for we have gone through for dropping the end date null. We just replace that df end date is na with df duplicated, right? So here df dot drop, I will write to drop the rows, right, or the columns, and then here which rows I want to drop, it will be df dot duplicated, and then x is equal to 0 for the rows, x is equal to 1 is for columns, and then in place equal to true. So it will modify the data frame also. If you write false, it will just display here, but it will not modify this data frame, right? In which, and then you can display. So now, if you see, now we don't have any duplicate data here, right? Okay, so we earlier saw that the date and the end date and the start date, they were not the they were object type, right? And now we want to convert them into date time. So may I know the reason why we want to convert into date time? We can let it remain in object also, right? So that also we can do the analysis. But may I know why we are converting them to date time from object? Anyone can post the comment? Two minutes. Yeah. I'll write the question here. Why are we Yep. Yep. Great. So it would be easy if you convert them to a date time, right? So then you can apply those date time functions, and you can do a lot of operations. Like if you want to calculate the difference, right? Or any more operations also, you can try to do that. written shown. Yeah. Uh, okay, so now how do we convert that, right? So okay, PD dot. So this is the pandas alias that we're using to date time. So this function is used to convert to date time, right? Then on the left hand side, first argument will be uh, the start date, right? So this df, and this is the column start date. So this, it will be for this column I want to convert, and what format I want to convert it. It should be in form of this month, day, year, hour, minute. Right? So you can specify any other format also, right? So similarly for the end date, you can convert it like this, right? And now you can see, if you see the df.d types, right? So df.d types will return you the data type. So if you see here, you can see earlier it was object, right? Now it is date time 64, right? Everybody clear on this? Okay, let's move ahead with the analysis part, right? Uh, so this we are going to do the EDA. So EDA is exploratory data analysis. So in simple words, having data insights, right? So even before applying any machine learning or deep learning algorithms, you can do some analysis using the data, right? Because you really need to understand your data well before you go for applying those algorithms. And uh, experience with me while I'm working on the case studies here at my company or when I'm taking the interviews, uh, people are directly jumping into applying any particular algorithms, right? But maybe, I mean, that is not required, right? So I'll give you an example. uh, we had the use case of uh, classifying different cylinders. You have the LPG cylinders, right? So you have to classify them into different classes. So the class category was A, B, and C. So A means that, I mean, it is good condition, right? C means the condition of the paint is very bad. B means that it is moderate, right? So now, first of all, you need to see, okay, what, like, how is the, like, what are the, what is the data, right? How are the images? How you can differentiate between this A, B, and C, and then what algorithm would you want to use for it, right? So, I mean, I would not go into details because many of you might not be aware of the different algorithms, right? So different, so you can use different approaches for this, right? What you can do, you can look at the whole cylinder and you can see if the paint is on what area is paint present or not, and then you can label it as that. Or what you can do, you can just the area where the paint is worn out, right? You can just label that area, not the whole cylinder, and then say that, okay, this is the worn out paint, right? Uh, and other different approach can be that you don't label the cylinder or you don't label that worn out area, but you just label the whole image as something, right? So now what will happen that, I mean, if you are not labeling the cylinder, right? So then how do you, first of all, for saying that, okay, this, the paint is not there, you need to identify if it is a cylinder, right? So and then if you just, okay, label that part, that, okay, where the paint is, right? So then there might be different irregular patterns of paints and worn, so that when you are labeling that particular worn out area, it can be quite confusing, right? So I mean, this is, I'm just telling you the only the first step, that where the data analysis is very important to see. And okay, after the labelers have done the labeling, right? And now you want to suppose do the training. So in the model training, we have broadly three parts, four parts, you can say. One is the labeling of the data. Uh, then is the data preparation, or you're organizing the data so that it can be trained by the model. So that is called the data preparation part. And then is the training. You train the model, right? And also it involves the tuning the parameters, so different parameters for training a model so that you can train the models on the best parameters. And then the last you evaluate the model. Okay, so there are certain cases in which you give the data, you train the model, and you get the results. But and uh, the results, if you see the model is not performing good, right? So then, I mean, you check the model configuration, all everything is fine. But then you come to know the issue that okay, the labeling what you have done, that is wrong, right? So A, B, and C, you have done some mislabeling. Some of the part you forgot to do the labeling, right? Or there was one person is saying this is A, the other person is saying this is C, right? So there is ambiguity. So these different things you can save from those things if you do the proper data analysis and you do the proper EDA. So EDA means so when you're training the model, right? So you can have so you need to have a balanced data set for all these classes in which you are. So suppose you're training for cats and dogs, right? So if you have 100 images of cats and you have only 10 images of dogs, right? So your model is biased towards identifying cats more than the dogs. So if anything, the model is like having the confusion, right? It will be giving weightage as cats, right? So how do you, so if you do the EDA, right, what we are going to do now, you will be able to know your data actually, right? That okay, what is the distribution of different classes, how many null values are there, how many data is not labeled, right? So if you take cat images, your model is performing good. What you did, you took cat images at night and your model is struggling there, right? So now you are balancing the cat images in different environment condition also. So I mean, yeah, this is the part when we do EDA. Okay, we'll go ahead. So univariate, can anyone tell what is univariate? Okay, so uh, yeah, now we want to know, right? So we'll be starting with analysis by like different columns, right? So now I want to do the analysis for category, right? df categories dot unique, right? I want to know what are the different values which category columns has unique values, right? So you can have different, right? It can be business or personal, right? But what are the unique value which you have for category? So if you do this, right, you'll be getting the result is business and personal. So you have two values only for this category. There are two, right, categories, right? Business for work, personal is for personal travel, right? Okay. Yeah. Now what you want to do, you want to do the calculation that you want to calculate the total number of miles, right? Total number of distance for business and for personal, right? How do you do that? Okay. First of all, which columns you are working on? Category and miles, right? So if you have studied like worked on SQL, it is very much similar to that. What do? You group by this data in these two columns by category, right? And then you apply the aggregation, right? What will be the aggregation? Sum for miles column, right? For the miles data. So this is the step, right? First part, you select what columns you want to apply. Second is how you need to group by, right? Like you need to, when you're calculating the sum, right? Aggregation, how you want to, so I want to group by business and personal. Okay. And then what operation I'll be performing? I'll be performing aggregation sum of all the categories, right? All the business and all the personal categories. So it will be doing the sum aggregation of all the values for this, right? So we have only two values, it will give me this. Now you saw that, okay, business is 11K, right? And personal is 700. So this means you're taking more, right, for the business purpose, right? Okay, now let's see how we can the plot this in a bar graph, right? So this was matplotlib, right? So I mean, this is used to plot the charts. So you plotted the figure, and then again, what you did, same thing, right? You did the same thing here, what you did earlier. These columns you took category miles, you grouped them by category, and you have applied the sum on those different categories, some for all the business, some for all the personal. And then what you did, you plotted a dot plot. And what is the graph? It is a bar graph, right? Okay, you have on the x-axis you have the category, right? You have the category. On the y-axis you have the total miles, right? And the title is total miles per category, right? And here is the same thing. What was there in a data table, you have it in the graph. Okay. So what is the analysis from here? That the user is using it more for the business trips rather than the personal trip, right? Okay, moving ahead. So I want to see, okay, how many unique start location you are having. It is 177 unique starting points. And then I want to see what are the top 10 starting places, right? So then what you did, so it is df start, right? So you write the column name, right? And then you write unique, and then you calculate the length, right? So you'll be getting how many unique elements are there. Okay, top 10. So what you did, df start. So for this column, I want to count all the values, right? And it should be in descending order, right? And then I want the 10 values. So for 10, for this, I write this colon 10, it will give me the first 10 values. So here, this means it will start from the first one. 10 is the 10 values it will give you, right? So you can see here, the maximum starting is for carry, right? Then is the unknown location, and then this. So now the same thing, if you want to plot it, right? So what we do, we use the same thing, a start column, right? You want to count, and then the first 10 values, right? And then you are plotting it. So for plotting, the parameters are, okay, so so this bar h is the horizontal. So this was a vertical bar graph, right? And this is a bar h is a horizontal. Then you have the y label, places, and the x label is pickup count, right? And then you have title is top 10 pickup places. Okay. So, okay, now can you post the unique places for stop and the top 10 stopping places? Can you post that? Okay, so since time is already going to be up, so just 1 minute, if you can tell me how many unique stopping points are there. If you can just write the statement and just post in the comment. Okay, I think time is up. So, okay, let's go to the stop. So it's the same thing. You need to change the column which you are using here. So df is the data frame in which we have all the Uber data. Stop is the column, right? So I'll just go through the data frame again in case, yeah. So you can see, I mean, these are my columns and this asterisk is the column name, right? So don't confuse with wildcard or something, right? This is a column name, part of column name. Okay. So df square bracket start, I'll get all this. Df square bracket stop, I'll get all this, right? Okay, I'll shift this. Okay, so I have 188 unique stopping points. Then how do I do the counting? It's same thing, only the change will be instead of a start, it will be stop, right? So you can just plot it. Okay, so you are starting maximum at carry and then you are stopping maximum at carry, right? So this means this is like his office, right? Yeah. Uh, so maybe the home, right, or the workplace. So okay, this is. I mean, you can do further analysis. That let me see. Okay, what's the time? Okay, you can do further analysis that if the starting, if you want to see, okay, how many unknown locations are there, right? So same. I mean, you can do that. Okay, if df if like df start equal to unknown location, right? And then you want to count all those instances, you'll be getting 148, right? So yeah, try to. So here you are comparing this df start to the unknown, right? And then this whole thing, right? You are counting the for the start column, you are counting it, right? With values count, and you're getting the answer. Okay, similar way you can plot the total miles, but you can see here, I mean, this is not giving you any good analysis, right? Because I mean, normally the distance you are covering is in between 0 to 50, right? So you're not covering 300 miles or something. So this analysis was not useful for us, right? So it will not be like that all the analysis will be useful for you. Okay. Now, so we saw df, we saw the info, right? How we can see the info. Now this is df.describe.t. So what it will give you, it will give you some useful calculation, right? So it will give you, okay, what is the mean, right? So, but this is valid only for the numerical data, right? So it will give you all the mean, the count, the standard deviation, right? The minimum value for the ride you have for the distance is 0.5, the maximum value is 310, right? This is 25th percentile, this is 50th percentile, this is 75th percentile, right? So this is describe df.describe.t. It is valid only for the numerical data, not for the text, right? Because for the text you can't calculate mean and min. Right? Okay, so we saw univariate analysis, right? Now we have the multivariate. So univariate means you are doing it for one variable. Multivariate is you are doing it for multiple variables. So df.head, you get the first 5 records, right? Now what you want to do, you want to group by. So earlier we were doing group by like one column, right? But now here we are doing group by two columns, start, stop, and then the miles. You can see, I mean, this is the like the values that are printed here, right? So it is being grouped by start and stop, right? And the total miles are being displayed here, right? So total miles, and then you can see, I mean, yeah, these are the destination. So let me scroll down. Okay, to make it more cleaner, right? So here the data, I mean, you're grouping by start and the stop, right? Start and the stop. And then what you're doing uh, for the column miles, you're grouping by start and the stop, and you're doing the sum, right? So you can see here, you're seeing the data from 1 to 11, right? And then, so from if this is the start and this is the stop, it is summing all the distances for this starting and the destination points. Okay, so this is just to show that you can do univariate analysis, you can do multivariate analysis. Okay, now we want to see how many round trip the user has done, right? We'll just do this, and I think then we'll. Is there any library I can use for autofill browser for my password manager in Python? Okay, we'll just come to it. We'll just finish this part, and then we'll come to question answers, Q&A sessions. Uh, okay, so how do you see how many round trip you have done, right? So you write a function, right, in which you see that if the start and the stop is same, it will return yes, else it will return no, right? Then what you do, I mean, you just apply this function, right? So df.apply, what you can do, you can apply this function, right, for the round trip, and then you can, yeah, so here what you're doing, I mean, in this function, it will be, so it is for columns, right? X is equal to 1 is for columns, and what it is doing, it is checking that start and the stop is same, right? And then you do a plot where your x-axis is the round trip, right? How many round trips you have, right? And then you are having this is the data, right, on the data frame. So this on the y-axis you have what is the count of this, right? And what are the values that you're having for this round trip? You're having either yes or either no. So if you notice, right, we have added a new column into our data frame, which is round trip. So if you want to add a new column, just write df and then write the new column name, and it will add that column automatically. And what that column values contains, right, you can see here. So df round trip asterisk, this is the column name, value count. So you can see yes is 288, no is 866. So this means around 75% is single trip and 25% in the round trip, right? So you can do a lot more analysis. You can calculate the right duration. For that, we have done the conversion to date time, right? So you can do a lot more analysis using this. So this was just to give you a brief idea, right, how you can use it. I think now we can, yeah, go for Q&A session before we wrap this up. So Adit, I think this will be we can try to this on the client side, right? On the server side, we should not be doing that. So for the pipe, yeah. Yeah. Anyone else has any questions regarding the data analysis or regarding data science? Uh, Also, let me post you the different courses, right, which you can look into. Yeah, so here are these list of courses, right, which you can go through for data science. Yeah, I'll wait for 2 minutes for any questions or clarification on what we have covered so far. How to generate reports of analysis. Reports, what do you mean by reports? Is it this charts and the graphs, or do you mean to say anything else? Because if you're talking about like having a rich reports, right? So I mean, one thing is that you can use this matplotlib and seaborn, right, for the analysis, and you can get this kind of a chart. But if you want more advanced tool, I mean, you can use Power BI, right, in which you can get more powerful reports, right, and the pie charts, graphs, data tables. So I'll write down the name. So it is by Microsoft. So these are actually the data analysis tools. So where what you need to do, you just need to send them the data, and you also need to have the standard format in which you want those charts and the tables, and then yeah, it will be available for you for the visualization. So there are yeah, a lot of data visualization tools available. Any other question? Anyone on? Okay, I mean, if yeah, there are no other questions, yeah, then we can. Do you want like we should be having further analysis, or if you want me to share on anything else? Yeah. Okay, so I have posted down the link for the Geek for Geek courses. If you're interested, you can explore that, right? And thanks a lot for joining today's webinar. I hope, I mean, this was useful, and you'd be taking a step ahead using this data analysis for whichever project you're doing, right? And you can explore it in like deep learning, machine learning, computer vision. Yeah, sure. Please go ahead, Yuvraj. Yeah. Power BI questions? No, Power BI is a visualization tool, right? There you just need to import the data, and you can see the different graphs and the charts and all, right? So I think what Anshuman was asking regarding like, yeah, what, how, like we can generate the reports and all, right? So Power BI is a tool by Microsoft. Yeah. So you just give the data, right, and the format in which you want the data to be displayed. There are a lot of other asked in Power BI for the interview. So I mean, you want to know what are the interview questions asked for data visualization and all. I mean, you need to know that okay, how you can import the data, right? And if like different analysis you want to do, how you can do it in Power BI, how you can calculate in what format the data will be displayed, right? So I mean, yeah, these. No, no, I mean, they will not ask what is a bar chart and all. Yeah, I mean, they will ask you that, yeah, how you can actually do that, right? And so suppose I have this data, right, for the Uber data, right? I want to see that, okay, how much the business and the um, personal trips are there, right? So then, I mean, like, how do I visualize this in pie chart or a bar graph in Power BI, right? So I mean, this can be like one of the questions. So mainly on the application. So if you want to do, try out a small project in which you can try to use Power BI or yeah, sure, please go ahead. Yeah. And Power BI is just one of the tool. You can use other tools also. You can use, I mean, I use Kibana also. So for the Elastic Stack, so you can also use Kibana to do the visualization. So you send the data to Elastic and then you can just visualize those data in the Kibana. Then you just need to select, okay, what are the rows and the columns? Sorry, what is the X and Y axis, right? And then what data you want to. Do they ask advanced SQL queries in data analysis? So yeah, good question, Yuvraj. So yeah, you need to be good, having good knowledge of SQL databases, right? For because for data science, you need to have so that I mean you can filter, store, retrieve data in effective manner. So I would say yeah, decent SQL queries, right? Uh, yeah. I mean, you should be knowing how you can do aggregation, how you can do grouping, how you can sort it, right? So, yeah. Okay, guys. Yeah, thanks a lot for your questions, and thanks for joining. Yeah, have a nice Sunday evening, and yeah, please post if there are any other questions in the comments. Yeah, we'll try to reach out. Okay, thank you. How to create a data analysis resume? Okay, sure. Basically, the key is that you select any you select any project, right? You to do that use case, you can refer to Kaggle, right? You can refer to Geek4Geeks. You can select any project. You can try to like create a small project, post it on GitHub, right? And then you can put that in the resume. So that will be really useful and it. Got it. Okay, Yuvraj, I'll you can also reach out in the course section. You can also reach out to the contact and questions. Yeah, we can answer there. And in the YouTube comment also you can post so that yeah we can answer your questions there. Okay, thanks everyone. Yeah, nice having you. Bye.